Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group. It's time with our roundtable and our sponsor, RHF Ninja Warrior Competition. Today is Saturday, April 1st, 2023. April is Sexual Assault, Minority Health, and Autism Awareness Month. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And we have our partner back with us again, Darren Jeffrey. He's a founding board member of RHF and also the original course creator builder for the TV show American Ninja Warrior on NBC. And we have a panelist with us, Thomas E. Willis II, retired Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army National Guard, served over 22 years as Special Forces Green Beret, and also currently licensed real estate attorney. How you guys doing today?
Doing well, Sean. Thank you.
Our pleasure. So we're going to talk more about family life, RHF, the careers that you guys have had, doing the great things you've done. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Thomas. Tell us what made you, first of all, get involved with RHF. What brought you to RHF, and what is your mission with RHF?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Sean. Talking about how to help military families, it's one of my favorite things, so it's an honor to be here. Going back, gosh, it was, I think, 2013, 2014. I got a call from a friend with whom I'd gone to Special Forces selection, and he told me what he was thinking about starting this organization named after his dear friend Rick Harima, and it was going to be a nonprofit designed to help military families. And he told me a little bit about what he thought the goal and the mission should be, and asked if I wanted to get involved. And I said, absolutely, I'd love to. And so we were off to the races.
Wow. So what's the mission been like so far? If it's something that you really enjoy doing, tell us about your passion for this mission. And also, once again, give us a little bit of background about Rick Harima. Tell us who he was. And then I know we have brought that up in the past before, but I want people to understand who he was and why he was such a special person for you guys to start this organization in his name.
Yeah, so full disclaimer, I never served with Rick. We were never in the same unit together, but I had friends that served with him, and he truly was a remarkable man. Everybody in the special operations community brings a lot of gifts. They're all blessed with a lot of gifts, but Rick had an unusual selflessness, and I think that's really what made him stand out from the crowd. It's just that he was always focused on helping other people and making them look good, and really the thought of himself always came last. And so he just had that leadership. His parents are heavily involved with the Rick Harima Foundation, and his parents really blessed him. He just had such a great character, in addition to all the normal gifts you would expect with a special operations soldier. And so that spirit that Rick had, that selflessness, that humility, that desire to bless honors and put others first, that really has permeated, I think, the entire culture and the organization of RHF. My wife and I, we were excited to get involved with it because we had served down at Fort Bragg throughout my military career, through several deployments, and we had small kids. And especially when I was away training or on deployment, it's difficult for the wives, especially the spouses, especially if there are kids involved, to figure out how to stay connected, to find activities to do, just to stay sane sometimes and to keep that mental health balance. So we saw there was a real need for that. And we in our family, we had felt it viscerally, where my wife had felt somewhat isolated from the military community when I was away. And when I was home, we would all get together and, we would have activities and meet other families, but it's just a little bit more difficult when, the soldier gets deployed. So we saw the need. We knew it viscerally, and we wanted to help create, a place where military families could come, pre-deployment, post-deployment, during a deployment. And so, that was the genesis of it, and a little bit about Rick there.
So, Thomas, tell us what made you join the military. What attracted you to the lifestyle? And then also tell us about your experience as a Green Beret. So, no, that's a very difficult and very, very involved type of role in the military.
Well, I think that the main thing that really led me to join the military is I just love my country and felt a calling to serve. I think since I was a little boy, I had a sense in my heart that if God had blessed me with any kind of strength at all, it should be used to, protect others. And, that got me into trouble sometimes. I remember once, I think I was in second or third grade, and I walked into the bathroom, and there was this bigger kid. He was a bully in our school, and he had this small kid in the corner, and he had him pushed up against the wall. And I said, "Hey, let him go. You can fight me." But then he just pushed me up against the wall. So I took the worst end of that one. But that desire just to kind of stand up to just to stand up to the evil in the world, and if you have a strength, you should use it to protect others. That just kind of seemed like it was part of me, and I just always was attracted to the military. The sense of adventure called me, the camaraderie with the other team members in your unit, that called me. And so I was actually working at a law firm in DC when I joined up, and I was in my mid-20s, and I was getting a little bit long in the tooth to start in the military. I think I was 27 or 28, and I just thought, gosh, I really don't want to have regrets. I had tried to join when I was younger in high school, but I had asthma, and they wouldn't take me at the time. But I grew out of that. So in my late 20s, I applied again, and they were willing to take me in, and so I was blessed to find a path into the Green Berets. And I remember I went around the law firm, and I was talking to some of the partners, and I said, "This is something I really would want to do. I'm passionate about this. I think I would probably even pay somebody to let me do this." And they said, "Oh, you're going to pay for it, all right." And I still remember when I left the big firm in D.C. and I went down to Fort Benning, Georgia. We got our heads all shaved off, and we got our first. I still remember my first monthly paycheck. It was $992 as an E4 in the military, and I thought, well, this is great. But I honestly, it was one of the happiest times in my life. We were doing what we felt like we were supposed to be doing, and learning how to defend our country. And so yeah, I don't have any regrets. I'm still in the National Guard, so I'm going on 23 years, and still going strong.
How was that transition for you, coming from full active duty to the reserve, or to the National Guard, to like a reserve component, basically?
Well, the National Guard has always more or less been my component, but I did serve 15 years on active duty, so I'm a little bit of a hybrid, if you will. But it's a challenge for National Guard soldiers, because there's a lot of administrative transition that goes when you transition from civilian status to military status and back, and it's difficult for the active duty guys too. Every time they go from one set of orders to a new set of orders, that's a tumultuous time in any family, and it makes things difficult, and it's stressful. You have a very short window. Military families have a very short window in which to plan and execute a move to find a new place to live. At the same time, they're trying to learn a new stressful job. So it puts a lot of pressure on military families, and I think it impacts everything from family stress, family unity, family finances. I think that military spouses have one of the lowest labor participation rates, even though typically they're well educated as a population, but they have a low labor force participation rate, and then that's of course due to the fact that every 2 or 3 years they're moving up on a new set of orders, and so that's why organizations like RHF, I feel, are really important to provide a space, a friendly space where some of that pressure in the balloon can be released before it builds up to too much. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Darren, tell us a little bit about these obstacle courses again, because I know sometimes people don't remember all the details about what RHF does and what Rick's Place is all about. But tell us about Rick's Place. Tell us about the obstacle courses and all the things a family can do at your obstacle courses and at RHF.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, it's when we first got the first chunk of property, I think we were at 21 acres, and so which 21 acres, when it's covered with just thick woods, you can't really wrap your brain around how much land that is. And so, some of the first decisions that we made as a board was to provide quality programming for families, just programs and activities that are free for military families that want to come out and spend some time at Rick's Place. And so literally some of the first programs that we did were work days where families literally showed up to clear brush just so that we could start unpackaging the property that we had at our disposal. And as the time went on, the visions from so many different people started to become realized, whereas, we could have a lake out here, or we could do tree houses, or, the Ninja Warrior course could come. We could build the Ninja Warrior course over here. The kitchen at the Harema house can be used for cooking classes, and we can do above ground garden beds at this, in another part of the property. And so the next thing you knew, we went from 21, I think, acres to 55 acres, which
Whoa.
The neighboring properties were gifted to us. Once the community started finding out what we were doing, we had tons of support. And so, now we're sitting on a campus that is, the majority of the property is opened up and very well groomed. Picnic tables, nice trails are getting installed for big, long walks. Tree houses are up. And so we really took it from a spot in the woods to just this open blank canvas of property where we can run just about any kind of program that makes sense. And so, it's literally the simplest concept, but it takes a whole village to pop, to prop that up and get it going. So, I think we're out of startup mode for the most part at Rick's Place. That's in Fayetteville, North Carolina, right outside of Fort Bragg. However, we are very excited about the prospect of getting some more spaces developed around other bases. So like, Tom said, when families are moving around, it's great that there's a Rick's Place, right by Fort Bragg, but if they have to move to Fort Hood, we're not there yet. So, part of this podcast series is to create awareness to America about what RHF is doing and the opportunity that America has to support us in our endeavor to scale out to additional locations so that families can connect the dots as they move around.
And how do people connect with RHF?
So right now it's, we have marketing throughout the base, throughout towns, social media, that sort of thing. But largely it's still word of mouth. It's surprising that, we're in a community that has so many, hundreds of thousands of families, and we're still just hearing constantly, oh, wow, new families will come out to the property, and we'll hear over and over, oh, we didn't know you guys were here. So that's the question that we're still trying to ask ourselves, in fact.
So what's your website address so people can at least go there and get information about it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the Rick Harema Foundation, it's www.rhfnow.org, rhfnow.org.
And what's your most favorite thing to do at Rick's Place? What's the most fun? Well,
I'm a little jaded because I'm the Ninja Warrior guy, so I really like it when we get the course built and have it all set up and the electricity in the air with everybody, training and getting ready to compete. That's my favorite time of year. But that's not up year round. We only set it up for a few weeks as one of our mini programs. I don't know, Tom, what would be one of your favorite programs that we've done out there?
Yeah, thanks, Darren. I think, honestly, my favorite thing is just watching a family enjoy themselves, like the kids smiling and, maybe a dad chasing the kids around and just a family having a good time. Because all the research we did on the best way to help people and the board meetings and the planning and the work groups and just to see the smiles on the families' faces, that's the best part, I think.
I think that's really, really wonderful. The guys are actually doing all this work and actually improving the facility every year. It seems like it gets bigger and bigger and better every single year.
Yes.
That's really awesome.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So what would be your dream course if you could make the course of all courses, a course to end all courses? What would that look like, Darren?
Oh boy, well, it would be a step past what we've done with Ninja Warrior. I would take it to a different level. I'm a big fan of mashing together multiple concepts, and so I would love, and again, this is just dreaming, right? So this isn't even on the table. We're not even talking about this yet, but I would love to combine esports competitions with the physical element of the Ninja Warrior competition. I would love to have a family competition where the family members get to compete with some video games with one another, but then they get to step away from the console, be at Rick's place, and go hit the obstacle course and kind of have a combination of scoring, if you will.
That sounds awesome.
Between the two. Yeah.
That sounds really awesome. That would be really cool. And now with the new technology, you got all these VR headsets and things like that. I could see that happening.
Absolutely. And we have the space out there for us to set up the consults, and we do know some folks that run what's called the Military Gaming League, and that's a nonprofit as well. And so we're excited to know them, and it would be neat someday to be able to come up with an esports competition out at RHF.
Wow. Now, Thomas, tell us about your family. So you're married. Tell us about your kids. What do you do when you're trying to get quality time? How do you organize and plan and execute quality time with your family?
Yeah, well, that's something that, as a military family, you have to be intentional about that. You really can't leave that to an afterthought. You have to plan for it. So this weekend is a good example. My parents live down in the mountains, and so we left our hometown and just came down here for a day and a half just to get into the woods a little bit, get some hiking, get some family time, and do a little campfire, a little dinner. So on the military side, it's really like I said, something that you have to be intentional about, and so we try to make small investments on a regular basis. That's part of the research we did when we were first starting. The Rick Harriman Foundation was, how do families become more united, and what are the things that help folks that are going through stress. And so the research that we found that helped guide our Rick's Place now is that small investments of time, small investments over consistently over a long period of time actually work better than large trips, for instance, or large expensive trips. So just taking a walk with your wife and kids, or daily bedtime stories together, those sort of small investments consistently over time, the studies show that that's the best way to build unity and connectivity and strength in a family unit, and really any team unit, but especially for the family. So that's what we try to do.
And that's one thing you kind of touched on, which I wanted to bring up, because this is a problem in this country, which is particularly what I've been hearing from people that recruit into the military, that they're finding that a lot of the people that want to join the military don't meet the basic qualifications. A lot of it having to do with their health. They're not healthy enough to join or meet the physical fitness standards to get into the military. Doing things like you're talking about, going for a walk, being active, doing an obstacle course, doing things you can do at Rick's Place. What do you think about that, and how do we get more on top of helping our younger people become eligible just to be able to join the military, particularly in the area of physical fitness?
Well, I think that folks sometimes look in the wrong places for answers, so that they'll say, well, what can the government do, or what can the school system do? And they may have a role to play, but really the buck stops with the parents, in my opinion. So if the physical fitness of your family is important, then it's something that requires attention. And so we encourage our kids to engage in sports and eat healthy. Not all the time, of course. That's always a battle. But you've got to put your foot down sometimes, and sometimes they need to get outside and go for a walk or get a jog it's really a parental responsibility, and that's where it's got to start, and that's where broad change is going to come from. It's got to come from the bottom up.
Mm-hmm. And do your kids express interest in joining the military? If they've kind of taken after you in any kind of way to think about maybe going into a service?
Yeah, my oldest daughter is 17 right now, and so she's looking at possibly going into ROTC in college, or potentially joining after college. So we're going through that right now. My son, he's 5, or he's going on 6. He's determined he's going to be a soldier, so we'll see. But yeah, they're interested in it, and sometimes kids just want to be like dad. But whatever God's designed them to do, I'll support them. I definitely don't put any pressure on them to join the military. But if it's something that they want to do, of course I'll help them as much as I can.
No, Tom, tell me about one story you have as a Green Beret that really shaped maybe or helped you learn something that was something that was really something that helped shape your life or changed your perspective on the world.
Well, I think I mean, gosh, there's a lot of stories. I'll just tell you a leadership story. So I remember I was working on one mission, and we had our senior leaders, the leadership on the team, and we were running around and executing the mission and busy and everything. And we had one of the support guys, and he had let his weight slip a little bit. And I think most people just, didn't think much about it, or maybe even looked down their nose a little bit. This guy's letting himself slip. And one of my friends on the leadership team took the time to go over and talk to him, and just say, hey, I noticed, you're not in as good a shape as you used to be. What's going on? And well, the guy had some things going on, and he had some personal challenges going on the home front, and so that episode just really humbled me, because my friend just taught me what good leadership looks like, because I was focused on, taking care of what I needed to get done, and, focused on getting this done or that done. But there's a guy right next to me, that was hurting, and I didn't even notice it, and my friend did. And so that really humbled me. That, helped shape me as a person, and I think it's helped shape our whole team, just to look out for your brother's back. And, leadership is about serving others. So that's a story I would share.
That's a good story. I like that story. And then also it kind of goes into the whole topic we're talking about today, which is really taking the time to just catch your breath. That officer, that soldier took his time out of his busy schedule to sit down and talk to a friend, basically, and say, hey, what's going on? Take a breath for a minute sometimes. What can you do to advise parents, particularly in the military, of how to make that happen, how to schedule or take a breath for a minute to start and trying to just catch up with your family, connect with your family, particularly your kids?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sean. I think probably this question isn't unique to the military family. I think, every family in America has this challenge these days, but really, again, it just comes back to being intentional. So, like for instance, if you heard about Rick's Place now and you're in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, put it on the calendar, and maybe even a month out or a couple weeks out, but put it on the calendar and be intentional, and then go make a memory, with your family. And if it's, something more simple on a daily basis, hey, Friday night is family movie night, and I know everybody's got plans and there's things going on, but we're going to spend time as a family. And so you just gotta be intentional about it, and put your foot down sometimes and just say, hey, no, this is family time, and guard that time together.
Now, one thing I remember when I was a kid growing up, my mom kind of had this notion, and a lot of families have this notion, and I've read many places that when a family eats dinner together, or at least has one meal together, but dinner particularly, that tends to be a very solid, grounded thing for a family to get into the habit of, is sitting down at dinner time and eating dinner together. Did your family, sometimes I knew you had to be deployed, maybe you weren't always at home, But did your family always have family dinner or eat family dinner at least once a week or on a daily basis maybe?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say every day, but we try to make a habit of it. Definitely. You're right about that. The statistics are amazing. I think the kids are. I forget what they are exactly, Sean, but they're something along the lines of 75. If you have dinner with your kids a couple times a week, those kids are like 50% more likely to do well in school, 75% less likely to do drugs. To have sex before age 16. I mean, don't quote me on the stats, but there are really strong stats on the impact that time. But it goes back to what we were talking about previously, and that's that when we were creating Rick's Place, we did some of the research on how to create the community and the bonds and the family and on a team, and it goes back to what we were saying, that those small little inputs consistently over time are what really builds the unity in the community. And so that it's the same for Rick's Place. It's the same, it's the same for the family. So absolutely, we try to do the meal as often as we can, and the story time as often as we can. And it's a healthy thing. Not always easy to do, as everybody knows.
So one more time, Darren, give us the information about how can people support Rick's Place, RHF Foundation. How can they get involved, support, lend their money, time, effort, volunteer? Where do they go, and what's the website?
Yeah, absolutely. But I do want to comment on an earlier topic, about how to create opportunity, for young people, and it's so amazing that the energy and the drive that a young person has, whether they have experience or not, they still have this drive, whether it's a spirit of adventure or the spirit of the spirit of life, or the spirit of being inquisitive. But the thing that's missing is the guidance piece. What I know is that every year another generation of kids graduate, and they're all looking for mentors. They're all looking for guidance. They're all looking for inspiration. And what we're talking about, up until that point, that guidance and inspiration largely can come from the family. And it's so true what Tom is saying, the small little things that are just repetitive over time. My father passed away 2 years ago, and I reminisce constantly about the things that we did together and how inspirational he was. And so I think RHF is a platform for creating opportunity, giving kids an opportunity to do something, or families to do something that would be very difficult for them to construct themselves. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about the value of mentorship. And as a parent, don't be frustrated. If you don't think you're doing enough, just be consistent and be kind. And trust me that the youngsters are going to reminisce on that, in the decades to come. So, if you want to get involved with RHF, which we want you involved with RHF, our website is www.rhfnow.org. We've got on the website, we've got places where you can click to donate to support the operation. We are a 501c3, just like America's Heroes Group. You can also support this podcast, which also directly helps support RHF. So there's a couple of different ways to financially support us. But if you're in the Fayetteville area, get on our website. We've got programs running constantly, which means we need volunteers constantly. We have an amazing volunteer.
Cut you off there, Darren. We just ran out of time.
Get it, buddy. Okay, great week.
No problem. We'll have you back again. So go and definitely support RHF at the RHF website. You can also see us other information on our website, americashe.org. Darren Jeffrey, Thomas E. Willis, thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sean.
Have fun.
This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.